2 in the morning. Somebody is awake because something came apart. Not a launch, not a campaign. Something quieter than that. They are looking at a sentence on a page, and the sentence feels almost too honest to ignore. I want to become more like him. That sentence can sound like admiration. It can also be a warning light, because whenever we build a platform around a person, we are answering a deeper question. Where, finally, is the attention meant to go? They reach for a book published 11 years ago by someone they never met. That is a very ordinary act, and it is also the beginning of almost every platform. Someone who has learned something tries to carry it farther than their own room. A capable person sits at a workbench doing the unglamorous middle of the work. Then, that same person stands in front of a small room, suddenly aware of every eye. The gap between competence and visibility is real. A personal brand is often an attempt to cross it without pretending the gap is not there. That is why this industry exists. Messages move because people carry them. Ancient letters were copied, sealed, handed from one set of hands to another, and carried down roads. The Christian faith has never required truth to remain private in order to remain pure. Proverbs says that a good name is more desirable than great riches, so the desire to be known is not automatically vanity. The question is what kind of name we are building and what that name is being asked to do. Scripture does not flinch from influence. It asks influence to tell the truth about itself. Here's the thesis. Scripture says it. Let this be written for a people not yet created. The instrument may be sound. The craft may be useful. The question is the direction. A compass can be beautifully made and still point toward the wrong destination. A level can be accurate and still be set on the wrong wall. The problem is not that people want to communicate. The problem is what admiration is allowed to become when communication starts working. Start with authority. A feed is never finished. A book has a last page. That difference matters. A feed rewards constant motion, but a book asks whether the thought can survive stillness. Real authority is not a pose or lighting choice. It is the luthier voicing the soundboard, the printer checking registration, the baker reading dough by hand. It is the long obedience of becoming useful. The guide is right to insist that people trust those who know what they are doing. We should not make Christian content and then apologize for learning the craft. But our industry has earned some of its suspicion. Authority can be borrowed, packaged, and sold before it has been carried carefully. Borrowed authority is carried differently than owned authority. A set of keys handed from one hand to another is not the same as taking keys from a table. The receiving hand closes around them with care because the thing received belongs to someone else. That is the posture we need. We are not manufacturing significance. We are stewarding what has been entrusted. And stewardship changes the way we speak, the way we sell, and the way we measure success. Then there is relatability. Publish it true. Publish it theirs. Still true in 10 years. That is not a small standard. Relatability is not turning your private life into a product. It is allowing the work to sound like it came from a real life. 1 Thessalonians says that Paul and his companions shared not only the gospel but their own lives. There is the balance. The message is not detached from the messenger, but the messenger is not the destination. Honest life gives the message texture. It does not make the message about us. This is where we need a handrail. You are not writing for the people watching now. You are writing for the person who may find it later. That changes what you do with pain. A camera can receive a confession, but it cannot hold a human being. Have somewhere to bleed that is not a camera. Have someone who can sit across from you when the room is empty and reach across the table. Content can tell the truth about a wound. It cannot become the place where the wound is asked to heal. If we turn every unhealed place into a content pillar, the platform may grow while the person quietly disappears. Most of the guide's tools are useful. Authority, relatability, story, audience clarity. The craft of the hook, the structure of the story, the discipline of making a promise and keeping it. But underneath all of it is that sentence, I want to become more like him. For a founder selling coaching, that may be a strategy. For anyone carrying a message about Jesus, it is a question we cannot leave unanswered. Who is the viewer being taught to admire, and what happens to that admiration after the video ends? At Nori Media Group, we are not trying to win a week. We are trying to still be right in 11 years. That is the pass-through, never a destination. Light passes through stained glass and lands on a far wall. The glass can be beautiful, but the light does not stop in it. Paul says, follow my example, as I follow the example of Christ. That is not false humility, it is a direction sign. Paul can be imitated because Paul is pointing beyond himself. And when people in Lystra tried to turn Paul and Barnabas into destinations, they tore their clothes and redirected the crowd. The Christian creator has to learn the same reflex, receive attention without trapping it, build trust without owning the soul of the person who trusts you. The guide asks the right kind of questions. Who are you speaking to? What do they need? Why should they trust you? What are you inviting them to do next? Those questions help a message become clear instead of cloudy. But the Christian creator has to add another question. Who becomes greater if this works? The first questions clarify the audience. The last question clarifies the altar. We can borrow the mechanism without borrowing the center. We can learn to name a problem, serve a person, and make a clear invitation without turning the audience into a mirror pointed back at us. That is why this industry exists. Craft transfers. An older hand corrects a younger hand on a tool, patiently twice. The finished piece is clean because someone cared enough to teach the middle. Christian creators sometimes lose ground because they think learning the craft is compromise. It is not compromise to learn how a story holds attention. It is not compromise to write a clear title, make a truthful promise, or edit out the sentence that does not serve the viewer. Sincerity matters, but sincerity is not a substitute for skill. The message deserves a vessel that does not leak. Story structure is borrowed too. A beginning opens a question, a middle carries tension, an ending gives the listener somewhere to stand. None of that belongs to marketing. Scripture says it, let this be written for a people not yet created. The Bible knows how to begin with a question, reveal a wound, carry a person through uncertainty, and leave them with testimony. Think of the man in John 9. He does not need a polished personal brand. He tells the truth about what happened to him. The story has structure because reality has shape. We learn the craft so the truth can travel. Now the rehook. A feed is never finished. A book has a last page. The hook is not the problem. The small lie is the problem. A door opens just enough to promise a room behind it, and then it opens onto nothing. That is what happens when the title promises transformation and the video delivers atmosphere. Make the promise large enough to matter and honest enough to keep. Reach is not the enemy, manipulation is. The viewer does not need to be tricked into staying. They need to discover that what you implied is actually there. Trust is built when the door opens onto the room you promised. The divergence is not in the tools. It is in where the admiration is allowed to stop. He must become greater. I must become less. So the answer is not to abandon the garden. It is to remember the gardener, learn the craft, tell the truth, make the promise honestly. Build a body of work that can still be trusted when the trend has moved on. Let your authority be real, your relatability be human, and your story be shaped with care. But do not let the admiration stop with you. If someone looks at your work and becomes more patient, more truthful, more courageous, more ready to follow Christ, then the platform has done more than perform. It has become useful. Publish it true, publish it theirs. Still true in 10 years. I'm Nori, publishing the voices that God is raising up for this generation.